All right, let's get the scoop on Marcus freaking Davenport. All right, welcome back to Onebar and Lupagus show, where we are talking Marcus Davenport, and who better to bring on than our go-to for anything Saints related, Andrew Juge, host of the Saints Happy Hour. And also, you might be getting up there where you're probably our most, the guest we've seen the most. So congratulations. Hold your head up high.
Love it. Love it. Well, cheers to that. I wish, we're recording this in the afternoon, so I'm just drinking coffee, although we're talking about Marcus Davenport, so that typically leads me to want to drink. So maybe I make this an Irish coffee or something. But
oh, hell yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah, we want to get the good, the bad, and just your overall thoughts on the signing. Links down in the description. Be sure to go give Andrew a sub. I believe we even play the Saints this year, so we're going to see you again, hopefully.
Can't wait.
Next year. So always, one thing I can count on is you're going to give a real answer. So if you think he's dog shit, you were going to tell us that, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, where to start? I'll speak to the game first that we play, and I can't wait for yet more heartbreak, because it seems like that's what always happens when we play the Vikings. So, except for when we play you in the NFC Championship. So
okay, that's enough.
Yeah.
It's rude. That's rude. Well, give us some. Let's start. We're going to end on a good note. So give us the bad. What's the bad of Marcus Davenport?
Well, it's funny. He came to New Orleans with massive expectations because he obviously was a first-round pick, but the Saints moved up to get him, and they gave up another first-round pick in a future year. So he has been affectionately known as Marcus Two Firsts by most Saints fans. That's what we like to call him, MTF for short. Look, I think he was out of like UT San Antonio, small school, freak of nature. I don't know if you guys kind of pay attention to the RAS scores and all that, but he was off the charts. Freak of nature, tall, fast, strong, all the measurables. And so there was every reason for him to succeed, right? So we were excited about the pick, and the lion's share of his career has been missing games, constantly injured. And he's even had, so you guys know Cam Jordan, because obviously his dad was a superstar for you guys. And Cam Jordan even said something this year that I thought was kind of poignant and salient and surprising. He kind of went out of his way to say, like, yeah, like availability is your best asset in the NFL. When he was talking about Davenport. And Cam Jordan is a guy who's known. I mean, he never misses games. I think he missed one game for COVID a year ago. And maybe this past season, he broke his orbital bone in his eye, and he missed one game for that. So, like, normally he plays 16, 17 games a season. So he's probably missed 2 games in his entire career. He has played through torn abdominal injuries, knee issues, and he's played through everything. And he kind of acknowledged, like, yeah, like Marcus, like, he's got something going on physically, and he doesn't play. And he's like, availability is your best asset in the NFL, so you got to get on the field. And there was kind of some acknowledgement that, Davenport doesn't play through stuff. So, look, I think physically something that seems to happen with him a lot. And if you watch Davenport play, he has like that, RoboCop arm contraction thing going on, that a lot of NFL players say. He always has that.
Intimidating.
Yeah, intimidating. But I think a lot of times it's like a torn bicep, a torn pec. Like, he's dealt with a lot of those things. And I think it's because he has really long arms, and he would stick it out there, to try to stop a guy in the run, try to create some congestion in lanes and stuff. And, someone would hit his arm. And a lot of times, like, I think just because of maybe weakness combined with a longer wingspan, he was like tearing stuff in there. And so I don't know if he's become like more reluctant to kind of just stick his arm in there. He actually also had like almost his entire pinky amputated last offseason because he injured his pinky, and then like surgery went bad, and then like he got an infection. I don't know. Anyway, so he plays with like one pinky. And so going into this past season, the whole thing with Davenport was like, he's in a contract year. Finally, this is a year like he has to play, right? And he's going to be awesome. And also there was this narrative that like now that the pinky's been amputated, he doesn't have pain in his hand anymore. So that was going to make a big difference because he felt better. And he actually played a lot last year. He didn't have a ton of games that he missed, and he turned in a half sack. That was so the running joke right now is that you guys paid $26 million per sack. That's like the joke that Saints Twitter is making right now. You paid $13 million, you got a half sack, so you double. That's simple math kind of stuff.
I hope you get assigned a Viking that I can just tear apart. But I'm not going to argue with anything you're saying.
So anyway, that's the best. I do have some good stuff. I know I just made it sound like horrible. This is the worst thing ever, but that's the bad news.
Well, let me ask you on the injuries just quick, because I mean, right when this happened, I mean, anybody following the NFL knows that Davenport's had issues staying on the field. Are they freak injuries, or you just think that he's a type of guy that doesn't want to play through injury?
Some of it was freak for sure. He had like a torn pec and I don't know how easy it is as a defensive end to play through that stuff. So he definitely had some freak occurrences. I also think, I don't know that Davenport, and this is just me speculating. I don't know the guy personally. I don't know that Marcus Davenport loves football. You have some guys that are just live it and breathe it and like will do anything possible to get on the field and have this. Cam Jordan's like this. The Vikings have a ton of guys like this that just feel like they owe the organization and the fans, and they love football, and they live it and they breathe it, and they'll do whatever it takes to get on the field. I just kind of get the vibe from Marcus Davenport that like he plays football, but he doesn't live it and he doesn't breathe it. And so like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's like some mental health stuff there, just like some psychological issues. I think he struggles with confidence. A lot of times the coaches, him in interviews, they've talked about just the mental approach, things being in his head, lack of confidence. So like, there's some stuff in between the ears, and that no one's ever come out and plainly said it. But I think that's kind of part of the challenge with Davenport. And I do think he's a dude, like I said earlier, that if something's wrong physically, like he struggles to push through it.
All right. Once again, Andrew Juge from Saints Happy Hour, gracing us with his knowledge of Marcus Davenport, which so far hasn't been fantastic. But we haven't got into the good yet. Hopefully there's some good. Before we do that, was there, I think I already know the answer. Was there any sense that the Saints wanted anything to do with this guy, or are they just happy to move on from him? Were they looking to bring him back at all?
Yeah, I think at the right price they would have. I think 1 year, $13 million is pretty steep. I mean, it's just 1 year, right? So it's still like a kind of a prove it deal, but $13 million is, again, he had a half sack last year. So to me, that's just too rich for, especially with the Saints who have big cap issues. I just think it was too expensive. But he also had a ghost year in his contract. So he's actually counting $7 million against the cap for the Saints this year in dead money. So ideally, he would have been, if the contract had worked out, he would have been cheaper on the team than off of it based on that. So yeah, like it would have been great to bring him back and maybe sign him to a 2-year, $15 million deal, like 7.5 per, and you get that cap number down significantly in year one, and it's less than 7 million. So he's actually cheaper against the cap than he would have been off of it. So structuring it like that, absolutely. I think the Saints would have been open to that. And I think would kind of push the calculus the other way as the 1 year, $13 million. The Saints are like, yeah, we can't compete with that. But also I do think so there's that, but I do think some Saints fans are kind of glad to see him go. Like it's been a lot of unrealized potential in his career. And so, sometimes it's good to walk away from that.
Well, let's talk quick about the half sack. Because the year before he had 9, and also he goes from a half. Was it he was just not getting a sniff of the quarterback, or is it one of those ones where he was getting close and he just wasn't closing the deal?
Definitely the latter. Yeah, he was causing disruption. He's still very disruptive. Lot of pressures, some QB hits. So I still saw him affecting the passer and being effective, but he couldn't close. He couldn't finish. It was kind of maddening. And it got to a point where it was so frustrating that they started putting Carl Granderson in there, who is, I think, physically far inferior to Davenport. But then he started getting sacks. I think Granderson ended the year with like 4.5, 5 sacks. in a really small sample size. So like he was kind of getting results. And so then that towards the end of the season, Davenport's playing time evaporated. So yeah, it's kind of inexplicable. Like he should have had more. He played better than what the stats suggest. But yeah, like you said, he had 9 sacks a year ago. And I thought, look, contract year, if he plays and he doesn't get injured, he's poised to have a double-digit sack year, and he's going to get $100 million contract. That's kind of what I was expecting going into the year. So this really was very surprising how it played out.
All right, give us some good news.
Yeah. So I mean, I told you about his specs, and so obviously he's a freak. He's tall, he's long, he's fast, he's strong. He has everything that you would ever want in a defensive end to be successful. He's like a heavier Javon Curse. I mean, you remember when Javon Curse? You're my age, so like you remember like what a freak he was at the time, and just as a defensive end. I mean, Davenport's like that, and I'll tell you, man, like what's maybe most remarkable is when you see these stretch plays with running backs or a quarterback that has like, the 4.5 speed and he goes around the edge and he scrambles. Most defensive ends can't contain that. They can't hold the edge. They can't chase those guys down. And I have seen those guys that run 4.5 40s, like kind of go around the sideline and Davenport chase them down. And you see those plays and it pops on tape and you're just like, holy shit, like there's not another defensive end in the league that can do this, so forget his measurables for a second. Like there are plays on tape that pop where you're just like, this guy's a freak. And there are sacks that he gets where he destroys the left tackle, destroys the quarterback, causes a fumble, injures the quarterback. It's like, the game-changing play. Yeah. So I think for him, it's all about health. Like, and like I said, there's probably like some psychological, like confidence stuff too. But if he can put it together, like he's still like it still pops on tape. And so I still believe in him. I still think he can have a season where if he puts it all together mentally and physically, like he could have 15 sacks in a year easy. He is that good. So he is supremely talented. The year he got 9 sacks, I think he played about 10 games. He missed a lot of games that year. And he was the best player on the defense. And so the running joke was like, Marcus Davenport is either going to be awesome or he's going to be injured. There's nothing in between. This past year is the first time that kind of narrative took a dent because he was actually playing and he wasn't really producing, which was surprising because his whole career was either play and be awesome or be injured. And that was it. So now I'm kind of like, I don't know what to expect from him. But I still think there will be moments, even now, even after all these injuries, and he's on a 1-year prove-it deal. So like, he's got to have a good season to earn the next contract. So, it's a big if. Can he stay on the field? Can he stay healthy? And he will miss some games. Prepare yourself for that. But I still believe in him that there will be those moments where he's just incredible.
All right, that's making me feel a little bit better. I mean, I can't think of anything better. The Saints give up the draft capital, go up and get the guy. He doesn't pan out, comes to Minnesota for a 1-year prove-it deal. 15 sacks, maybe 16. We play the Saints next year. Maybe has a wonderful game. It sounds like a Disney movie. I look forward to watching it.
Or he tears his ACL in training camp and you never get to see him. It's one or the other, really.
As you talk about him, like from a Vikings perspective, I keep thinking Irv Smith Jr. Like Irv Smith, everything. Like he has all the tools. He could be fantastic. He can't stay healthy. He shows you glimpses, but he just hasn't put it together. And right now, the Vikings fans are just like, bye, Irv. Good luck. Hope you go do something well. But that's the guy who keeps going through my head. Like he could, if everything came together, he'd be great. But
you want to talk about worlds collide? Irv Smith Sr., his dad, was a tight end for the Saints in the 90s.
He was.
And he was much less talented than his son is. Yeah, anyway. But yeah, no, that's it. You nailed it. He's kind of like Irv Smith Jr. And but I will say, I mean, I haven't paid close attention to Irv Smith Jr., but I would say those moments where Davenport is special, he's like Aaron Donald level. You know, he has like Aaron Donald's a defensive tackle. I don't know who you would name as like the best defensive end in football. I don't know. I'm kind of blanking on like who would be a good comp.
Marcus Davenport.
Right. But you know, like he has like Bruce Smith moments. Like he has moments, or Reggie White. Like he has moments that are like, hey, if he bottled that up, he'd be a Hall of Famer. He's that good.
Still a young buck. I mean, from my perspective, it's all about what if. They took a big swing, and if, you know, it's either going to be a boom or a bust. But let's talk contract before I let you go. Again, you've already mentioned it, but the $13 million, I haven't seen the full details as far as what it's going to be, but overpriced.
Well, what's your cap situation? Are you guys, you don't have plenty of money to spend?
We still gotta clear about 12 million just before tomorrow to get under the cap. So they got a lot of work to do. So it was actually a pretty damn surprising move. Not only that nobody's mentioned Davenport to the Vikings, but also the amount of money that they threw at him. I mean, I love it, but they got some work to do.
So does that include the Davenport contract?
No.
So that now they're 25 million over.
Yeah, they definitely got some work to do.
Okay. Yeah, he's overpriced then. Yeah. I think, look, you have those teams that have like 80 million in cap space, and they'll throw a 1-year prove it deal at a guy and overpay and fine, whatever. Like, you know, just get the guy in the building and maybe it works out. But it's only 1 year. So I'm sure they have a plan, and I'm sure they'll figure out how to get under the cap. To me, I look at it as $13 million. Like, you can get three players probably on long-term deals with that kind of money, you know, at 13 million in space. So it's a lot to tie up in a guy that he needs to be on the field and producing, right? A contract at that level. And he has consistently shown in his career that he doesn't get on the field. So yeah, I think it's too much. But you know, listen, a lot of times in the league, like, doesn't matter what they cost. Like, I always say, like, get good players in the building. You know, don't worry about, it's not our money. We don't, like, why do we care what our teams are spending on players? Like, just get good players in the building. That's all that matters. And but he is extremely talented, and if he stays healthy, it's a huge if. But if he stays healthy, it'll be all worth it.
Yeah, and I should mention before they kill me in the comments, the thought is that Darius Smith wants to be cut. He saves like 12 to 13 million when we release him. The thought is Davenport pretty much just soaks that up and takes his spot. So.
Maybe we should have just traded players. Maybe we should have just,
you know what? It sounds like they're trying to trade him.
We could use a tight end.
I hope. Yeah, I hope it happens. I hope it happens. All right, there you have it. Andrew Juge, Saints Happy Hour. Hit the links down in the description. This is not the last you will see his face on this channel. Appreciate it, man. As always, love your stuff.
Hey, you guys have done the impossible and made me not hate the Vikings. I kind of like secretly pay attention now and root for you guys, because I know, like, at least if the Vikings do well, you guys are happy, and that makes me happy. So, you know,
that's fantastic.
I'm kind of like you guys have accomplished the impossible. So keep doing you.
All right, man. Appreciate it. Take care.
Always a pleasure. Thanks, man.